A nation weeps at my kneeling. A legion of men wish they could break me. This black thing, the center of attention, a defiance heard round the world. They wish they could seize these legs like a colony, force them to stand upright like soldiers being sworn in. They wish I didn't plant myself on the ground, like a black seed waiting for an uprising to bloom, while their song pollinates the air. They're upset at my buckling. Prefer I unhinge myself for ethics' sake. Like a black knee didn't get capped 2 days ago by a cop, or 2 centuries ago by a slaver under a hot sun. They act like dismembered legs of a diaspora don't decorate their front lawns. My entire existence is either upholding a torso before it's lynched, or before a torso meets the pavement by gunshot. It would take more than ESPN's commentary to shake me loose. I have nothing else to lose but the blood that embodies this limb. How am I poor on this turf when a white player sets his eyes on me? Tackle with the intent to injure the bone, split the marrow, like an overseer enacting his revenge on a runaway. I heard Master binds a log to a Negro's knee to keep him from running. The knee is the pariah of the black body. It is overlooked by arm and fist. It is a blistered thing fathered by Adam and often bent in the name of God. The knee knows the damage of prayer and protest. Ask the black child who's forced to kneel as the times beat him back to Jim Crow. Ask the black church congregation who is praying when a man stepped into their congregation and seized them with bullets. When they say take a knee, they mean summon all the divine and the damned and those who have been lost amidst the massacre. And no, I will not apologize. You're upset at our kneeling, but not at the fact your anthem has left us silenced. Thank you. So, truth is, even though I wrote a poem on Colin Kaepernick and football, I actually don't even watch football. No, more of an arts kid. Another truth is that I actually really struggled with this talk, mainly because it makes me be open in a public setting, and that's something I'm still getting used to, which is interesting because I'm a spoken word poetry artist, which means I write stories about the social climate or my life, and I perform them on public stages from audiences anywhere up to 5,000 to 5,000 people. Believe it or not, I still get stage fright. So I thought, instead of just performing for you all today, let me be authentic and talk to you about my beginning. Let's get that. So, as a kid, my mom said I love to be in front of cameras, but I think this is because she's super sentimental and always had one of those old Kodak film recorders in my face during the holidays. I had yeah, my mom's really, oh my gosh. But anyways, so my mom said I love to be in front of cameras, and we had a very vivid childhood, although there were some isolated incidents. Incident number 1 was when my mother's first husband, the father of 2 of my brothers, was shot and murdered in Reading, Pennsylvania in October 2001. He was shot 3 times with a fatal blow to his back. And I remember seeing his brown face leaving our apartment home before this incident took his life. The case still remains unsolved to this day. And it took me 11 years before I wrote about this in a poem. Before I even had the language to piece together a mortifying experience which left my mother widowed. And as a young black person in this country, the lingering notion of death and the anxiety that comes with it is something that I acknowledged very early on in life, and I believe ultimately changed my art. Now, I know that got dark really quickly. So let's do something really fast. If you have lived outside of Philadelphia, raise your hand. Keep your hands raised if you lived outside of Pennsylvania. Keep your hands raised if you lived outside the country. Well, we got some travelers in here. Okay, cool. So, you guys can put your hands down now. So, let me channel back to 2003. My mother ended up remarrying to a man in the military. And he was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. And I lived in Japan for 4 years of my life. Like, I went from being in Reading to being in Okinawa, using chopsticks, speaking Japanese, but don't ask me to speak any after this talk because I forgot most of it. But I was away from America's streets, police brutality, and the wounds that plagued my family members back home. There's one of my favorite sayings in Japanese, one of the few that I actually remember. It's called Ohayo gozaimasu. And Ohayo gozaimasu means good morning. And in Japan, I would watch cartoons a lot. I would immerse myself in Teen Titans, the Justice League, Spider-Man, X-Men. We got some superhero fans in here? Alright, sweet. I hope you all know it's Marvel over DC. So anyways, but the thing is, I immersed myself in these stories, right? Because a lot of the time, these heroes also experience loss or face oppression. Peter Parker lost his uncle. The X-Men were a group of people who were oppressed by larger society. However, all these heroes had extraordinary abilities, and they were able to save the day every single time. And this is something that appealed to me. So, I started writing comic books. And it was around this time I realized I enjoyed telling stories. And I wrote this comic book called The Increasing Kids, which was based on me and my friends in Japan. Now, if you couldn't tell already, I'm the one in the Eagles jersey. I was always repping Philly from the start. But essentially, the main character of The Increasing Kids was called Superboy. And this was a complete ripoff of Superman. But I based him off myself. He had black skin. He was invulnerable. He was strong, kind, pretty fly. He was everything I envisioned myself to be. And I brought my comics to class, and all my peers really liked them a lot, so I kept on writing them. And it caught the attention of my teachers, mainly because I was writing comics instead of doing my math work. It became an issue with my mother. However, my 3rd grade teacher specifically took the time to read one of my stories. And she shared it with all the other teachers in the hallway, and ended up sharing it with my mother. This sparked a change in me. Because for the first time, an older adult actually took the time to recognize my art. So flash forward to 2007. We relocated from Okinawa, Japan to Jacksonville, Florida. And here, my mom enrolled me in a creative writing program where I was able to work on my craft and work on poetry, fiction, and nonfiction. However, I wasn't really writing about my identity or my relationship to grief. I was still enamored with superheroes. But then, in 2012, Trayvon Martin and Jordan Davis, 2 black boys who lived in the state of Florida, were murdered in cold blood. They were both in my age group, and Jordan Davis specifically attended the school down the street from me. I remember seeing caution tape at the gas station where he was murdered. This was when my writing took a shift. It became a place of refuge and retribution. I thought, how do I address this rage, this confusion, and this struggle? In 2013, I found my answer in the form of performance poetry, or as many know, as spoken word. The summer of 2013, I attended a summer slam camp based in Minnesota where they taught you the rules of poetry slam and you were able to work on being a spoken word artist. Most other kids my age were going camping or doing other stuff during the summer. I wanted to go to spoken word camp. Also, I'm wearing a Spider-Man shirt because that's my favorite hero. So, essentially, going to this camp changed my life for the better. My mom ended up taking a teaching job in Orlando, where I was able to spend my entire senior year of high school going to poetry slams and open mics on a weekly basis. Some days, I would walk from my household and walk miles just to attend an open mic. And my mom was always worried about where I was. She was like, are y'all having sex, doing drugs? I was like, no, I was at a poetry slam. And sometimes she did not believe me, but we're here now, Mom. So, I met one of my mentors in Orlando, and she told me to never stop using my voice. And that is something that I've taken with me every single step of the way. My mentor, her name is Blue, was actually the one who told me to go to Temple University. Because she wanted more from me, but also because she has family in Philly, and she said, if anyone messes with me, she got his. So, before I arrived at Temple, I dealt with some burdens back home. In 2014, before I arrived at Temple University, a resident in my neighborhood threatened to call the cops on me. I was working out in my neighborhood gym, and I was the age of 17, and the rule stated you needed to be 18 or older. When he confronted me, he was visibly upset, and his threat to call the cops stirred an uproar in my spirit. Because I knew I was only one phone call away from one of my worst fears. And I know there are people like me who've been arrested, have had family members killed. I know what it's like to be profiled and to have people I care about on the other side of the gun barrel. So flash forward to 2014, I'm finally at Temple, and I'm living it up. 2014 was also the year Michael Brown was killed. And I, alongside several Philadelphia youth, took part in a protest that happened in this city. And in that protest were community members and spoken word artists who later on became my family and people who guided me along the way. Throughout my undergraduate career at Temple, writing became both an outlet and a profession for me. In 2015, I co-wrote a poem entitled Black Superheroes with my best friend Jamal, in which we addressed the stigma against black skin in America, but also talked about superheroes, which is ironic full circle because I went from writing comic books to writing poems about comic books. And later on, the Philadelphia youth team went on to win the International Brave New Voices competition. And that's a picture from it right there. A year later, I placed on the Temple University Cupsy Slam team, and we went on to win that competition as well. And I even got a cool feature in the Philly.com magazine. Shout out to Sophia Ballin. But what I understood was that poetry and my truth, hand in hand, were able to affect change on a larger scale. That these narratives that come from simply writing down something can touch people in other communities, but also speak to yourself. I was simply a kid that loved comic books. I was simply a kid who had a death in the family. I was simply a kid who was racially profiled. But I used all of this and my love for writing to propel me forward in life. And this is to say my worldview is my own, and my truth is my own. Everyone in here has a specific worldview and a truth that they own. And I believe you can use that to manifest change in systems that need it. You could call your ancestors to live through you. You could change a child's life. So what I want you to do really quick, you guys can pull out your phones, or you can pull out a sheet of paper. It doesn't have to be that deep. But I want you to write one truth about yourself. Simply one truth. My series of truths are that 22 years old, a young black person in America. I'm short, so I've never really played in the big leagues of basketball. But what I want you to do with this truth is you can come back to it later. You can go back to this truth and write a larger goal. Write a poem. Write a TEDx speech. Whichever you choose. You can even hang it up on your wall and look at it every single morning. Because what I realized from my life journey is that our truths are undeniable. In 2017, I co-founded a collective known as Black Boy Fly with my best friends. They are performing artists who are black men who also seek social change. And we've gone on to perform at Albright College, American University, the National Campaign for Black Male Achievement, and more. And that's a photo of us at the Rumble Young Man Rumble Conference in 2015. What I want you guys to know is that I'm not any extraordinary person. I'm a mentor, I'm a mentee, I'm a mom's child, I'm the best friend of Joshua Ortiz and Dylan Rudd. But ultimately, I'm just a kid who loves comic books, a kid who always loved superheroes. And my truth brought me here. So you never know where you might end up.